Ever get that really strange feeling like you're sort of watching yourself from the outside?
Yeah.
Almost like in a film.
Uh-huh. Or maybe the world around you feels, well, just not quite real.
Exactly. It's actually pretty common. People even say things like, I feel like I'm beside myself.
Right. That's what we're getting into today, these feelings often called depersonalization and derealization.
Yeah, and we've got this document, trigger.pdf, to help us. Our mission, basically, is to figure out what can kickstart these feelings,
Both the fleeting ones and the ones that stick around longer.
and also, importantly, what keeps them going. So let's start with the everyday stuff. What can make you feel temporarily, well, unreal?
Yeah, it's interesting how often these brief moments happen. So depersonalization, that's feeling detached from yourself, like you said, an observer almost.
Okay.
And derealization is more when the world outside feels kind of foggy or distorted.
Right.
Our source points to several short-term triggers most people might recognize, like maybe having one too many drinks,
Ah, okay. Yeah.
or that sort of out-of-it feeling some medications can give you.
Mm-hmm.
Even surprisingly, really deep focus, like during meditation or, getting lost in a repetitive movement, that can cause a kind of temporary trance state.
Like zoning out when you're doing the dishes or something boring.
Exactly that, yeah. Or driving a familiar route sometimes.
Okay, what else? Any other brief triggers?
Oh, definitely. Stress is a big one, both physical and psychological.
How so?
Well, think about being really sleep deprived, or maybe constant loud noise, harsh artificial lights, even just sensory overload, or being under high pressure at work or school.
Yeah, that makes sense. Intense situations.
And it's not just bad stress. The source mentions that any really strong emotion, even in, say, a life-threatening situation, can trigger this. It might be like a protective thing the brain does.
Like kind of disconnect to cope.
Sort of, yeah. And then there are physical things too, like hormonal changes or the aura some people get with migraines, even certain epileptic seizures.
Wow, quite a range.
Yeah. It is. But the key thing here is these are usually brief. They tend to fade pretty quickly on their own.
Okay, so that covers the temporary side. But what about when these feelings don't just fade, when they hang around or keep coming back? What causes that?
That's the crucial next question, isn't it? And here's something quite surprising from the source. In about half 50% of these persistent cases, they can't actually pinpoint a specific trigger.
Really? Half. So it just starts.
Apparently so for many people. It remains a bit of a puzzle. But for the other half, there are two main culprits that stand out.
Okay, what are they?
Illegal drug use marijuana is mentioned specifically, and significant emotional stress.
Significant emotional stress. That sounds quite broad. Can we break that down a bit?
Yeah, the source gives some examples. It includes things like just feeling completely overloaded, mentally and physically drained.
Right, burnout territory.
Exactly. Or that kind of slump after a really challenging period is over. You've pushed through, and then it hits you.
Huh. Interesting.
Also, things like persistent loneliness, feeling like you lack support. Your actual living situation can play a part too, feeling trapped or confined.
Okay.
And more seriously, being stuck in harmful situations you can't easily escape, like difficult relationships or experiencing significant trauma. And also, an intense fear of death is listed.
The really heavy stuff can embed these feelings more deeply for some people.
It seems that way, yes. For some individuals, these kinds of intense experiences might sort of solidify the feeling, making it more persistent.
Right. Now, the source also mentions a difference between the initial triggers and what it calls maintaining factors. What's that about?
That's a really vital distinction, actually, because understanding what keeps these feelings going is often key to overcoming them. It's a major focus in therapy for these conditions.
So the trigger might start it, but something else keeps it alive.
Precisely. Think of it like the trigger flips the switch, but the maintaining factors are what keep the power running to that light.
Okay, like what sort of factors does the source say?
It doesn't detail them heavily in this section, but generally we're talking about things like developing high anxiety about the feelings themselves.
Ah, like a fear of the feeling.
Exactly. Or maybe starting to avoid situations where you think you might feel unreal. That avoidance can, ironically, reinforce the whole cycle.
Got it. So it becomes this kind of loop.
Yeah, that's often how it works. Understanding those loops is crucial.
Okay, so let's quickly recap then. Those brief, fleeting moments of feeling unreal. Super common, triggered by all sorts of things. Stress, substances, even just zoning out.
Usually no big deal.
But when the feelings stick around longer, It seems often linked to drug use or some pretty major emotional stress.
Right, though sometimes, maybe half the time, there's no obvious starting point we can find.
And figuring out what keeps those feelings going, the maintaining factors, is really important for finding a way through it.
Absolutely key.
So for everyone listening, maybe just reflecting on whether any of these triggers or perhaps those maintaining loops we talked about resonate with your own experiences.
Mhm.
Well, maybe that's a useful first step.
Yeah, just understanding the potential patterns can be empowering. And it might guide you if you feel you want to explore it further or maybe seek some support.